Bob Bowen, they tell us, who's a promotions manager for the city, they tell us about an MLK celebration that was in the park, and everyone was very close and focusing on how to keep themselves warm and still join in the celebration and honoring Dr. King. So we're very happy that there were so many people, and we wanted to keep everyone warm, that they decided to move it here to the Varsity Theater. So we've come a long way in the celebration, just as we have come a long way in reaching and achieving Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. As we begin here, there's some people that I want to introduce. We're very honored to have here today with us some elected officials and those members of the Human Relations Commission that come together and stay for hours upon hours at meetings once a month, and other special committees that they serve on. They do that because they want to be sure not only to carry Dr. Martin Luther King's dream on, but to ensure that we have equality in the city of Davis, and that is why they have committed themselves to the Human Relations Commission. I'm going to ask them to stand as I mention their name, and I know some people are coming in now, so if I miss you, please stand up, okay? I'm going to start with our Vice Chair, Diane Carlson. Come on, Diane, stand up. She's a mom-to-be, so we got to give her a few minutes here. Patsy Snowden. Thank you, Patsy. Our Commissioner Emeritus, you all know him, John Pamprin. Are there other commissioners that have come in that I've missed? Okay, and we have our past chair, Carlos Matos. I saw you somewhere, Carlos. I saw you come in. Thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to thank someone who's here today, and she's going to be coming up to speak a little later, Mayor Ruth Asmunson. Thank you, Ruth, for joining us today. Council Member Ted Puntillo. Thank you, Ted. And the liaisons from the council to the Human Relations Commission. Liaison Stephen Souza, council member also. And council member and alternate liaison to the commission, Don Saylor, council member Don Saylor. Thank you, Don. I don't know if I missed anyone else there. I'd also like to give a big round of applause to members of the Board of Supervisors who were able to join us today. I know some of them said they wouldn't be able to join us. We're very honored to have with us newly sworn in as of about a week or 2 weeks ago, Supervisor from the 4th District, Mariko Yamada. Are there any other members of the Board of Supervisors that I may have missed? Because I know people have been coming in. So if there are any, I apologize if you could just raise your hand. Okay. And school board members that I may have missed, I don't know if I saw any. Okay. We also want to thank these events that happen, whether it's MLK celebration or other celebrations, they wouldn't happen if it wasn't without that person behind the screen, so to speak, that does all this incredible work, the city promotions manager, Bob Bowen. He is a phenomenal person, and without him, there's many events that would not happen, so I just want to make sure we thank him. Next, as we continue, I'm going to invite Mayor Ruth Asmunson to come up and give a few words, and Ted Puntillo is going to come as well. She's going to give a few words, but they're also going to talk about a very important opportunity, kind of in the spirit of Dr. King and helping your fellow man. The city of Davis, as well as the residents of Davis and the business community, are coming together to put on a very, very important event to help the tsunami victims. So please join me in welcoming Mayor Ruth Asmunson and Councilmember Ted Puntillo. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Before I give my remarks, I would like Councilmember Ted Puntillo to give you a wonderful fundraiser coming up this weekend. Ted, if you could make that announcement, please.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth. I just want to tell you that the City of Davis, as Cecilia said, in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King, is coming together with the help of the Mayor Ruth Asmussen and Tom Lovering, the owner of Cantina del Cabo, to raise as much money as we can that will go directly to the victims of the tsunami disaster in Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and the Southeast Asia area. 100% of the money that we're trying to raise will go directly to these victims. There's no overhead, no executive director that's going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars off this. Our goal is to raise $100,000 on this one event. It's going to take place at Cantina del Cabo on January 22nd and 23rd. And Tom Lovering has donated his establishment, his restaurant, his kitchen, everything for these 2 days. And we're selling tickets over at the Cantina del Cabo or the Chamber of Commerce, or a lot of local merchants have them for sale. B&L Bike Shop also has them. And they're $25. You get a half a chicken dinner and a bunch of the fixings, and $15 for children. Or if you want to make donations. As I said, 100% of this money is going to go to those flood relief victims and the tsunami victims. And it's just going to be a fun event. And as I said, January 22nd and 23rd at Cantina del Cabo. You're going to have to eat dinners on Saturday, and you'll probably eat dinner on Sunday. So if you could save that money and take it over to Cantina and eat dinner there, we'd really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. And I would urge you to join us at this 2 days event. It's an hourly event. We have seating every hour from noon to 9 o'clock at night. It is wonderful to see all of you today. And I want to welcome Reverend Lawson back. It's always a pleasure to hear his message regarding his wonderful friend, Dr. King. It is good to see all of you here to commemorate not only the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but to celebrate the freedoms that we enjoy in our country today. We are fortunate to live in a community like Davis that actively promotes equality among all, citizens' involvement, and I urge all of you, those who haven't gotten involved in city activities, community activities, please join us in making our community the best community we can have, and to approach any conflict in a non-violent way. The City Council unanimously passed a resolution early this month to recognize Dr. King's Day. I would like to read you a few comments from that resolution. Whereas the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. represents a challenge to all people to bring healing and hope, kindness and understanding to their communities, and whereas the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. remains an inspiration to people to embrace alternatives to violence for settling conflict and to embrace those influences that sustain life. Today's program is inspiring and thought-provoking. Take from it a message of activism, and as Dr. King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So thank you very much, and please enjoy with us the day of Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. Thank you.
Please join me in giving a big round of applause and welcome to Hannah Bieberstein from Congregation Bet Havarim. She's going to be giving the opening prayer. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you.
This I do believe, that within all diversity there lies an ultimate unity, that the Creator calls forth being from nothingness and makes all things one. But our lives are not whole. We are in exile, each from the other, and even from ourselves. Yet we cling to the promise of unity, directing our actions in the service of a dream but dimly remembered, a dream threatened by ignorance, hatred, jealousy, and fear. We cling to the hopeful vision of our ancestors. We cling to the promise as Jacob clung to the angel, and we will not let go.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for that beautiful prayer. I also want to welcome and thank for joining us. We've been joined by Mayor Pro Tem Sue Greenwald. Thank you, Sue. And by Davis School Board Superintendent David Murphy. And the person who keeps the city running so well and made sure we didn't have any rain today, the Davis City Manager, Jim Antonin. Thank you, Jim. Next, we are going to have a performance by the Davis High School Black Student Union and the Drama Department. Please join me in welcoming the members of the Black Student Union and the High School Drama Department.
Until the philosophy which old one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned. Well, everywhere is wrong. It's wrong. And until there's no longer first class from second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance to the color of the size against the zero.
I just don't get it. Why does my own race disown me? I'm just like them. Just because I don't wear the same clothes or listen to the same music, they think I'm whitewashed. What does that mean anyway? I don't understand. While Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Thurgood Marshall and others, they tried to fight for us to be equal towards others, while the whites were bringing us down. My own race is bringing me down because I'm not like them. Why can't they like me for who I am?
Dr. King and others gave their lives for equality, so that we, people like in towns of Davis, people like you and I, could be here together today. But nonetheless, even in this day and age, what do we hear? Being preached in schools and around the country, tolerance. But is mere tolerance something Dr. King and other civil rights leaders would have advocated? Tolerance, the word itself, suggests a sense of disdain and disgust. Instead, we should preach acceptance and togetherness.
Picture this, true story. I walk to a bus stop with headphones on, and a fellow brother approaches me and asks me what I'm listening to. And I say metal, but he doesn't know what that is, so I say rock. He tells me, man, you's black, why is you listening to rock? Is you a nigga or is you white? I don't know what to say to that. Rock does not belong to any one group. Rap does not belong to black people. Music is for everyone. Have things gotten so bad that we call each other niggas and bitches instead of brothers and sisters? Now, naturally, I went to go see a play the other day, and the cast was all white. But that's okay, I guess. But I looked through the photo albums of the previous plays, and they were all white too. Now I know it's hard to cast people that don't audition, but why don't we audition? Do we feel inferior? Tell me, when was the last time you turned on the TV and saw an average black person, not Jamie Foxx, not Denzel Washington, not Will Smith, an average black person portray an architect, a businessman, a doctor? Tell me, when was the last time?
Stereotypes, conventional oversimplified opinions imposed on a group. The media distorts African and African American groups without factual base. Meaning, discrediting. We are portrayed as drug dealers, crackheads, having no ambitions, nappy-haired, driving cheap cars, a vocabulary that consists of 4 phrases: dog, fat, off the hook, dope. The majority of the time you see a young African-American male on the media, he is singing, rapping, scoring a touchdown, dunking a basketball, hitting a home run, or committing a crime. We wear more than Fila, South Pole, and Fubu. We swim. We are not prone to stealing. We do go to college. We have perfect grammar, and not all of us are afraid of dogs. Get rid of the racial boundaries. We are a people of great achievements, creations of empires, male and female leaders, militarists. We are a people that have overcome. I repeat myself, get rid of those racial boundaries. We are achievers, musicians, doctors, leaders, future leaders, businessmen and businesswomen, inventors, explorers, philosophers. We are a diverse people. We have fabulous qualities, just like any.
Hold on, come here. We can't let them step down from this stage without them introducing themselves by name. So if you could please come up to the microphone and introduce yourselves by name.
Hi, I'm Bria Robertson.
I'm Alex Candory.
I'm Torrin Lewis.
I'm Nova Shenzimo, better known as Knox.
Thank you for that powerful presentation. Now we have joining us a resident of Davis who will give her rendition of Dr. King's favorite spiritual, Precious Lord. Please join me in welcoming Leling B. Boyce.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am so tired. I am so weak. And yes, I am
Thank you, Leland for that incredible singing. We are next going to be joined by the Davis Suzuki Violin School and Waldorf School Fiddlers. And at the end, children, if you can please stay on the stage because I want an opportunity to introduce you by name. Please welcome them.
Sing along.
having amazing violinists and guitarists. And those students were Alexander Anderson Hickey, Sadie Bills, Seth Bird, Jesselyn, I don't know if I'm going to chop up your last name, so bear with me. Ernest, did I get that right? Ernest, Cyrus Fatahi, Cora Fetter, Samira Guirgis, Andrew Hudson, Elizabeth Lawson, Margaret Lawson, Anna Sang, Daniel Sang, Lydia Sang, and Rebecca Sang, Elizabeth Wagstaff, Catherine Wagstaff, Sarah Wagstaff, Cedar, Katie, and the violin teachers that teach these kids how to be amazing, amazing violinists. Angela Cost and Diane Wagstaff, and the guitarists that accompanied them, Barry Melton, Renee Sang, and Mark Cady. Let's give them all a huge round of applause. I also want to thank some other folks that have joined us. Former council member Jerry Kaneko. I saw you out there somewhere, Jerry, as you were walking in. Thank you for joining us today. And former Mayor Ken Wagstaff. Next, I'm going to have somebody come up who's going to introduce our keynote speaker. And before I introduce the Honorable Reverend Timothy Malone, I just wanted to share something with you really quick. It was a little story as I'm sitting here listening to the songs and listening to the amazing performance by the high school students. Dr. King, in one of his most famous speeches, said that he has a dream of a world where his 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And he said, I have a dream today. And that is why we have this celebration year after year, not only in Davis, but across the country, to honor Dr. King's dream and to keep it alive so that folks know the dream has not died. As many of you know, I come from a very big family, 29 nieces and nephews, 7 great nieces, 7 great nephews. I'm the youngest of 8. And I am just so amazed by the words that come out of children's mouths sometimes. This words of wisdom, as I call them. I have this wonderful little niece, many of you know, her name is Kiana, and she just turned 4. And she's just an amazing little girl. And she was singing in the back of the car as I was driving, and then we had stopped at the park, and she was still singing. She attends church with her grandma, and she was singing the church song, Jesus Loves the Little Children. And, there's that part of the song where it says red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. She was singing that, and she paused, and she said, Celia, that's what she calls me, Celia. Celia, I like all children. That's what she said. It doesn't matter what their color is. And my jaw dropped. I was so proud of her. I'm not even her mother, I'm her great aunt. But I was just so proud that she just thought of that. I don't know, we have a very multicultural family. We're like the United Nations. But I was just so proud of her, and I just wanted to cry when I heard that. She said, I don't care what color children are. Celia, I like all children. And I said, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you think that you feel that way. That's a good thing. We are, everybody's a good person. So I just want to encourage you, and I'm sure folks in Davis do that especially, to share different stories and continue to expose your children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews to diverse cultures so that they too will come to recognize the world as my great niece Kiana has, in that all children and all adults are okay regardless of their skin color. Thank you. On that note, I'm going to invite, and please join me in giving a huge round of applause to the Honorable Reverend Timothy Malone, pastor of Multicultural Christian Church of Davis.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege once again to be with you today. where we celebrate the life of a great human being, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The guest speaker, the keynote speaker today, is a good friend of mine that I've known for over 20 years, Reverend Lawson, currently residing in Hartford, Connecticut. Reverend Lawson, when he was a senior at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was in an accelerated academic program, entered Morehouse College at 15. Reverend Lawson was a senior. Dr. King, Martin, or ML as they called him then, was a freshman. And they became friends. And Reverend Lawson graduated. He went on to Andover Newton Theological Seminary, where he earned his Master of Divinity degree. And he started pastoring a church in the Boston area in Massachusetts. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. graduated from Morehouse College and traveled to Crozier Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania. There he finished his Master of Divinity degree, graduated near the top of his class, right at the top of his class, and went on to Boston University, where he earned his PhD in systematic theology. Once again, Reverend Lawson and his friend, Martin, were reunited. In fact, he likes to tell a story that Coretta and he had the same doctor. And he also likes to tell about the young Martin and all these fascinating stories, how he drove to Atlanta one day tired, drove up to Ralph Abernathy's house and trying to meet Abernathy. They didn't have a place to stay, and Ralph Abernathy's wife let him stay there the night. Ralph happened to be in jail with Martin Luther King Jr. He talked about Andrew Young and Rosa Parks and a lot of the giants in the movement. Anyone is somebody, he's met them and knows them or has worked with them. He talked about going into Mississippi after Goodman, Swerner, and Cheney were murdered. They asked him to go in. And he was sent on a dangerous assignment to get 2 civil rights workers out of jail. They jailed civil rights workers left and right, trying to slow down the movement in Mississippi. And he was sent and he went, and the danger he faced. And then he talked about how the inner circle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., himself, and others, when they were sent out to an extremely dangerous environment, that they went through fasting and prayer to prepare for death, because they did not know whether or not they would survive or not. But the most interesting thing about my friend Reverend Lawson, my father in the ministry I call him, is that I knew him for most of those 20 years before I even knew that he knew Dr. Martin Luther King closely, or I knew he worked with him, but I didn't know that closely. The most interesting thing is that he just happens to send me a copy of a letter that Stanford University had sent him, and I looked at that letter and I read it and I was in awe. I was shocked, because when he got off the plane last time, Stanford had been trying to get him to come to Stanford University. He had refused for many, many years. In that letter, it was a letter from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. He had personally invited Reverend Lawson to come and succeed him at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. It was dated April of 1960. And in it, he was talking about how well the members of the church liked Reverend Lawson speaking, that if he wanted a church, he could have it. And how Dr. King met Reverend Lawson at the airport in Boston to tell him personally that he wanted him to pastor Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. That was a significant moment in Martin's life, because basically what he was telling Reverend Lawson is that I'm willing to die. I'm going to commit to the human rights and the civil rights movement and the fight for justice full time. But I want you to take care of my people at Dexter and Montgomery that helped to catapult me into fame. Without any further ado or delay, I bring to you a great human being, a man who risked his life to make this world a better place for all of us, a freedom fighter, a man of God, my friend and brother, and father in the ministry, Reverend E.W. Lawson. He's 85 years young.
You got it regulated there? Really? I come to express my profound thanks for the exciting week I've already had in Davis, California. People have been most generous to me as I tried to share with many classes in the schools the philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He is dead, but he yet speaks. The way we talk about Martin King in the movement, the dreamer is dead, but his dream still lives. That's why we try to culminate that dream in Resurrection City in Washington, D.C. in the Poor People's Campaign after Martin was buried in Atlanta. It is significantly clear that if you want anything to happen in this life, it has to happen through you. No leader can give you what you want unless you participate in the struggle and in the battle. The power of any life rightly dedicated can change the world. We know that one life can change the world because you have heard historically about Gandhi. He changed India. You've heard about Sister Mother Teresa. She stood in the gutter of Calcutta and shook this globe with merciful service. No, you've heard about Nelson Mandela, 27 years in the prison of Africa. He changed the world. Anybody who gets serious about a righteous commitment can send ripples globally around this world. The rest of us waste time. Martin King was a mighty catalyst in America. 1955 to 1968. Only 13 years. It is not how long you live. It is the qualitativeness of your life. He was only 39 years old when he left this earth, and the world is more deeply being influenced by him now than when he was alive. Don't let anybody tell you you cannot dream and tell you you cannot make a magnificent contribution to the marching of the human family. So I challenge those in school to stay in school, get to the books, and to pick a career that not only gives you a living, but helps you to help somebody along your journey. came across a statement long ago, and the statement was something that was underscored by Martin's life, and the statement goes like this: believe it, believe it. You are a real thing, a joy in someone's heart. You are a jewel, unique and priceless. I don't care how you feel, believe it. God don't make any junks. Life is so precious and valuable that any system that tries to reduce life is dangerous and satanic.
All right. Say that.
Martin King was an apostle of love, and he was, what do you call himself, a gadfly.
All right.
He was a gentle irritant
All right.
in American society,
Okay. Say it.
persistently so.
Yeah.
He was a major drummer of righteousness. He used to tell us, no lie will live forever. He was a lover of all human beings. We are trapped if we just love some people. We need to get out of our comfort zone and enlarge our friendships as long as we live. We are universally in kinship with all people who breathe on this planet. We have to learn how to love everybody beyond their dislikeness and to appeal to their conscience and their inner heartbeat. Martin was a compassionate prophet. He spoke for the mute and the poor. Started his trek in this world, helping a seamstress, Rosa Parks, and ended it by trying to help garbage workers. I'm disturbed about people who go through this life in such a small circle, then they miss the drama of participating in God's creation. He was a humble carrier of soul force. You get that word from Gandhi in India, one of the youngest Nobel Peace Prize recipients in history. You got to be somebody to be considered as a carrier of peace in the world. This world is crazy with anger and a warring spirit and militaristic confusion in this world. This world was made for peace. Peace. I remember one time in Washington, 200,000 of us saying on the hillside, all I'm saying, give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. We've given the ballistic missiles too long now. Let's try another solution.
Another way.
God has called us to tear down the walls and to build bridges. What you doing about it in your local circles, in your neighborhood, in your clubs, in your travel? Do you take a tourist episode across the Caribbean and you don't make any friends? All we want to do is to have a little fun Fun is on the other side and not on this side. One song can spark a moment. One flower can wake the dream. One tree can start a forest. One bird can herald spring. One smile begins a friendship. One hand clasp lifts a soul. One star can guide a ship at sea. One word can frame the goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam lights a room. One candle wipes out darkness. One laugh will conquer gloom. One step must start each journey. One word must start each prayer. One hope will raise our spirits. One touch can show you care. One voice can speak with wisdom. One heart can know what's true. One life can make a difference. You see, it's up to you. I want to take 6 emblems in America and bounce them off Martin's philosophy. The first one is the flag. We go crazy about the American flag. We wave it, we put it over the graves of soldiers. We get the jitters if they burn it. It flies half-mast when significant people die. That flag tells the story of our journey. The stripes talk about the 13 colonies, the foundation of our pilgrimage from sea to sea. And the stars represent the states. As I studied the life of Martin and I look at the flag, it gives me a deeper understanding of his contribution to this United States of America. White, blue, and red, the flag. You see, the 13 colonies are the foundation of our exploration of the democratic process. 13 colonies got together, and now we have 50. When I look at the flag, especially the red, I think about the courage of people in our history, and particularly those who shed their blood. This country has had a zigzag history, especially the blood of the Civil War, the blood of our soldiers around this globe. And I think about all the things they did to slaves and lynched them and shot them as they tried to register to vote. And then I think about the blood of Martin on the balcony in Memphis, Tennessee, giving his life. He said before he died, years before, if anybody dies, let it be me. He lived a sacrificial life, and on April the 4th, 1968, he buried his dream in the struggle of America. We will never forget the price Martin paid to prick the conscience of America. Next symbol, just a flag. We move into the phrase. I took some time as I went over some dollar bills I had and $20 bills and some coins on my desk in Hartford, Connecticut. Every time I turned around, I saw the word In God we trust.
All right.
You ever looked at those words in America? In God we trust. I want to give you a warning here. I don't want anybody to come to America and change God's relationship to this country. People walk around here want to rub out God. You can't rub out God. So somebody put this phrase in our breathing. In God we trust. So anybody who's trying to be anti-spiritual, you in trouble. I remember some time ago when we were deep in confronting this country that they got so restless about our presence and confronting America, they told us, if you don't like this country, leave it. And Martin said, we were here before you came. We were here before the Declaration of Independence. You said we were here before you came, and we'll be here after you leave. We don't let anybody tell us that we don't belong in America. In fact, Martin talks about our dream is rooted in the American dream. So we sing God Bless America. Sound like you still believe in God. Do you know that you cannot install the President of the United States or anybody making an oath in court, or a man be sentenced to electrocution? The judge says, may God have mercy on your soul. You can't get away from God. So we trying to get this country to come back to the prayer. They pushed everything out of public schools, but God is still around. He is not sleeping. And when Martin and the rest of us went over the Pettit Bridge in Selma, and the police stopped us the second time. The first time was the bloody Sunday. You can't get away from the blood we paid for our salvation. Went over the second time, and when they blocked us with the cruisers 2 miles deep, Martin said to the policeman, before we go back, can we pray? Right. We knelt down on the asphalt. And Ralph Appanator poured out his heart. You can't get away from God in prayer. We had a prayer here just now. We trying to move people back into the precincts of God's dictation. Prayer, crosses on churches and all. Do you know they pay the chaplain $200,000 to offer prayer every day in the Senate? And you tell me you can't have it in the school? You can pray in the Senate, but you can't have prayer in the school? There's such dichotomy and contradiction of America. Our job is to confront America to get back to its spiritual undergirdings. All the pilgrims who came over here were motivated by prayer and God's leadership. All the schools that were founded in America, the first schools were seminaries, religious schools. Now we got some folk coming over here and say we don't need God anymore. You sit here and let them reduce your faith? But Martin King came along to remind them that God's still in the business of leading America with his eternal plans. I don't know how much we are cooperating with America, but the movement was soaked in prayer. They got a lady always talking to me on the phone, and she got a little short little thing when she gets all worked up. She said, "Oh Lord, have mercy. We cannot get away from it." The third emblem and symbolism in America is the Liberty Bell. Do you know there's a crack in the bell? Do you know the Liberty Bell has never really sounded right? Do you know they tried 3 or 4 times to try and renew it and melt it down, and it has never sounded quite clear? There is a crack in America.
All right, say it.
We sing in one of the patriotic songs, God mend our every flaw. There's a flaw in America. You better open your eyes. And Malcolm was trying to mend that flaw. Some people walk around here like America's perfect. Let me clue you in on a secret. I've traveled all over this world, and America is increasingly more deeply hated around this world. You better wake up and find out why we're being hated. There's a crack in the bell. I want to ask you one thing. Are you willing to help us straighten out that crack? Because Martin business was trying to get America to become truly America.
All right.
There's police brutality. Let's name the cracks. There's a deep hesitation on affirmative action. Right. If slaves working 200 years plus for nothing, and you tell me there's no affirmative action?
All right, say it.
And reparation?
All right.
There's cheap labor.
Yeah.
We send in corporations overseas. Most all the commodities you're looking at will produced by people with sweatshops overseas. Right. Even the athletes wearing the tennis, that wasn't made here. America is good on cheap labor, giving millionaires tax breaks. They don't need any breaks. There's a crack in the bell. You know who runs this country? Interest groups. They're not studying about the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and Constitution. They're in Washington to make money.
Okay.
Old people got to choose between heat and food. There are 45 million people without health care. Right. There's a crack.
In the Liberty Bell. All right, say it.
I dare you go to the UN in New York City. I dare you. You walk in there, there's a statue given by Russia.
Okay.
This large man got a sickle in his hand, and that sickle represents this man with the sickle represents a gift from Russia. And on that statue is written the words out of the Bible: beat your swords into plowshares,
all right,
and your spears into pruning hooks, and study war no more. And Russia is more military than anybody else than the United States. We give us the, beat your swords, and they got more swords. America sells more ammunition to nations than any other nation in the world. No wonder we got war. Selling the ammunition. And you tell me you want peace? Somebody has to help us to straighten out the crack in the wall. All right. Go out of New York City. You come to a harbor. Cross that harbor, you come to the Statue of Liberty. I'm just talking about the great symbols of America. You come to the Statue of Liberty. Soldiers say, when you come over with the plane, they see that Statue of Liberty, they get exhilarated. America, America, home of the brave, land of the free. Remind me how black people fought in Korea and fought in Vietnam and fought in the World War I and fought in World War II. Now we're in Iraq. We fight for everybody's freedom, and we don't have freedom ourselves.
That's right. Say that.
The Statue of Liberty has some promising words on it. Have you ever been to Statue of Liberty? Bring me. Bring me.
Yeah, say it.
Yeah, bring me.
Yeah.
All the masses running to be free. All the people want to run away from oppressive government. Bring me to my shores. All these people looking for freedom. Martin would say two things. One, he would say, you can't bring everybody to America. They can't fit in, too many people. We got sense enough to limit our immigration. So everybody can't come here to become free. You don't have to go to high school to figure that out. The other is, Martin said, how are you going to invite anybody else and you're not treating us right here? The Indians, half of them are still on reservation camps. Bring me, fix this first.
All right. Amen. Fix it here. Cracking the Liberty Bell.
Martin said, if we lived in such a way to fix the crack in the bell, in such a way to fulfill the American dream, all men are created equal, and without debate, eligible for life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. What words? America offers these great theoretical promises, but she has reneged on the promise. So what we're trying to do is first feed the hungry in this country and treat people right so you don't leave us behind to bless the immigrants. We blessing everybody, we still waiting. So the Statue of Liberty is a great emblem in the country. But if we don't do our homework first with people who are still hungry, sleeping under bridges, America has a zigzag history. We sing, oh, beautiful, from shining sea. I went yesterday to an Indian place, and I could have wept. People in Washington, D.C. must be blind, or somebody's not giving them enough information. Everybody, Martin King said, ought to live a good, sustaining life in the richest country of the world.
That's right.
The next emblem, I was reading church the United States history the other day, on the front of the big thick book, 700 to 800 pages. I'm reading all the time. You can tell the way I'm preaching. I don't want anybody to tell me something. I'm going to find out for myself. Big eagle, a big eagle. Where? I have to research a little more why America is so obsessed with the eagle as the symbol. Well, you know about the eagle. There's no bird like the eagle. When the eagle stretches his wings, he goes sometimes 7 feet. The eagle builds his nests in the Gaggy Heights. The eagle is the only bird that flies, that does not have to flap the wings to stay up. You ain't seen an eagle doing this. The other little birds do it. They can soar for hours without moving, waiting for the upper draft. You ever wait for the upper draft? Eagles got such keen eyes. They can see the fish before they dive down to get the fish. Strong. They say when an eagle faces the storm, it never flies from it. It faces the storm and goes into the storm and lifts its wings and rises above the storm. I don't know why we picked the eagle, but I'll tell you one thing. An eagle, you know, is a sense of pride and strength and freedom. I'll tell you one thing. America is too arrogant. Right. Watch me now. Say it. We're the only superpower. We're going to do what we want to unilaterally. Okay. We ain't going to listen to UN or nobody else. All right, speak the truth. Martin would say to this country, get a little humility. All right. All right. Get a little sensitivity beyond your self-interest. All right, say that. Everything we do in this world is in the light of self-interest. All right. South, East, Asia the other day had a tremendous tragedy. We, like the other nations, running over to help them. And then they said, I wonder when the world sees what we do, they'll know that we are compassionate. It's always in the view of self-interest. Why don't America do something without self-interest? All right. You got so much money, give it just to help the people. I'm scared to death of people who do things in self-interest positions. Righteousness exalt a nation, and sin is a reproach to any people. So Martin would say, get humble. Get humble. When he stood in Oslo, Norway, to receive the Peace Prize, and all the august people stood around Martin, Martin was so humble. Martin said, I don't know why you giving me this Peace Prize. We have not accomplished much in America yet. We are still struggling. Why you give me this Peace Prize? Then Martin said, I don't deserve it. Let the people receive it who marched in the midst of danger. What humility. Yeah. You anybody got humbleness in this place? I know I never met so many arrogant people in Washington. And I don't know what's wrong with the vice president. These people lose their mind with power. But that which goes up will come down. You know, I've talked more than I want to talk. I'll be sitting down now. Here I go. I'll tell you about the flag. I'll tell you about in God we trust. I'll tell you about the Liberty Bell. You've been good listening students. I'll tell you about the Liberty Bell, about the Statue of Liberty. I'll tell you about the eagle. Let me clue you in on what makes America great. America has, Martin believed in America.
All right, say that.
Malcolm X didn't. Farrakhan doesn't believe in it. They want a separate state. They want black nationalism. Martin believed in America.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You know why he believed in America? We have 3 unequal documents that no other nation in the world has. He believed in those documents. They say that this land is a land of laws. I don't know too many people in Washington obeying the laws.
All right.
They want me to obey it on the side street. America is drifting slowly away from the documents of our founding fathers. I say sometime, if the founding fathers got out of the grave right now, they died of shock. The way we are interpreting what they put down in America. They're twisting every document. Here are the documents. The Constitution of the United States. The Bill of Rights. And the Declaration of Independence. When Martin stood in Washington, 28th of August, 1963, he spoke about the Declaration of Independence. He didn't get some witchcraft philosophy. He was just calling America back to the rudiment documents of this land. And he said, all men, oh yes, are created equal. You know, eligible without vote. Inalienable rights without vote, a right. And he stood in Washington. President Kennedy begged him not to have the march. But Martin was a person, I noticed when I was around Martin, when he made up his mind, when he would say, brother, I have decided you are in for a long confrontation. The bravest man in the Western culture. So that we went to the government to try to find out how to get them back to the document. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not the document, the most powerful document. All these documents that build, imagine this. When King died, they were passing, and they passed 3 laws that are the most powerful laws since the Constitution. One was, maybe you don't know this.
Before he died, yeah.
You want to finish this?
Yeah.
You can finish it if
You got me in trouble already. These words are not represent the city of Davis nor Reverend Tim Malone. Thank you.
Voter registration. You know, for years, if we went down just to try to register, they would kill us. Kill us. Police turn their head. Voter registration. Now, everybody, then they had all these sneaky questions they asked. The people who asked the question couldn't answer. Voter registration. Well, I was down, I'm going to finish, but I was down in Natchez, Mississippi. The judge said to me, I was getting some civil rights workers out of jail. The judge said to me, why you down here, Reverend? I said, yeah, I'm coming down to get some civil rights work. He said, have a seat. I said, I don't want a seat. He said, sit down. So when I sat down, he had some cigars. He said, have a cigar. I said, I don't smoke. I was trying to get out of Klan territory. He said, what? He said, I want to ask you a question. Oh, I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. When you're in the civil rights movement, you have to cross the line. The line means that you don't care whether you die or live. So I stood before the judge, and he said, I want to ask you a question. I said, what's the question? He said, if you were down here, would you let a colored person vote if he could not read the 6th grade level? Do you think he's eligible to vote if his education is not at a level of the 6th grade? And something happened to me, and I said to him, I'm going to really talk to him, whether I die or live. So I said to him, in all candor, I think all colored people ought to vote if you prevent them from getting a decent education.
Okay. All right.
He said, preacher, you all right? I said, yeah, let me go and get a civil rights worker. The other law is fair housing. We can't live everywhere in the country. The discriminatory practices are outlandish, sinful. Yeah. They passed that law. Yeah. This is a land of laws. The last law was the civil law. You got to treat me like a human being. You can't treat me any longer like property. Like property. All men are created equal. Now, I'm going to clue you in on a secret, and I'm going to sit down. Here's the secret. Not many people can, if you offer them $1 million, can explain to me Martin Luther's speech in Washington on I Have a Dream. If I had $100 million, I'd offer to anybody here, they cannot explain what King was saying. So I'm going to try to say it and sit down. You go to Atlanta, on King's grave, all these words, at last, free at last. And most people think that what that meant in the speech, free at last, meant when King would die, he'd be free of the struggle. That was not what King was talking about. King wasn't even talking about his death. Watch it now. When he finished the speech that he had written on a piece of paper in Washington, D.C., he went on talking spontaneously, and then he said, let freedom ring. He started from Vermont. Let freedom ring. He went through New York. He went, let freedom ring. He went through Pennsylvania, Alleghenies. Let freedom ring. He went down to Georgia, Stone Hill, Georgia. Then he talked about the molehill in Mississippi. And then he swept across the prairie to the Rockies. And he said, let freedom ring. And then he got to the Pacific Ocean. He said, and when freedom rings in every city, every hamlet, then we'll be free at last. Listen what I'm saying. He's not talking about some little victory you win in Davis. He's talking about the liquidation of racism from shore to shore. Then we'll be free. There is no freedom in America unless we deal with the intolerance and the bigotry and the racism clean across America. So what I want you to do is, when I raise my hand, you say, let freedom ring. Here we go now. Every time I finish the statement, you say, let freedom ring. From the White House. Let freedom ring. From City Hall. Let freedom ring. From State House. Let freedom ring. From the hospitals. Let freedom ring. From every school. Let freedom ring. From the Supreme Court. Let freedom ring. From the workplace. Let freedom from the golf course. Let freedom ring. From the rural shacks. Let freedom ring. From country clubs. From college campuses, everywhere. And then we, hand in hand, will be brothers and sisters. After you remove all of the vestiges of hate, then we will be free. You're not free? Join the struggle.
Amen. Stand up. Stand up.
They're going to give you a standing ovation.
Reverend Earl W. Lawson, Hartford, Connecticut, 85 years young. And some people call me radical. And some people had the nerve to call me militant. And some people said that I'm courageous. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Bush, CIA, FBI, his name is Reverend Earl Lawson, not Reverend Jim Malone. Let freedom ring. God bless you.
Let's give him another huge Davis. Thank you. Next, we are going to hear musical selections from the Davis Freedom Singers. Just to let you know, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, no tickets are given today. So if you're parked out there, don't worry. You can park for as long as you want to in the 20-minute parking, 15-minute parking, 2-hour parking. Let freedom ring. We are now being joined not only by the Davis Suzuki Violin School, Waldorf School Fiddlers, but the Davis Freedom Singers. And I want to introduce these folks. I know many of you know them, but I think they're a pretty fantastic group of singers and musicians. We have Dick and Carol Holdstock, Barry Melton, Wendy Silk, Ron Goldberg, Lorraine Anderson, Ann Bressler, Steve Kahn, and their newest member, Rosa Washington. And what's going to happen here, we are going to let freedom ring, and what we're going to do, they're going to start with the musical selection, and we're going to have the Reverend Lawson, we're going to bring his chair up here, right? Over here. Yeah, and then we are going to, we're going to lead that march, the march around the block here. You have it, we'll have the Reverend Lawson and the Reverend Timothy Malone help lead that march along with the kids. And we want you all to join us because we want to send a message to let folks know that Davis believes in Dr. King's dream and that we are keeping his dream alive. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please be sure to join us in the festivities. Thank you.
This is our battle cry. You ought to stand on your feet. This is a song we sang all over America. We shall overcome.
Yeah. And it's on the back of your program. It's on the back of your program.
Sway. Sway.
We'll walk hand in hand. We'll We shall live in peace.
No more wars. No more wars. Living hope.
We are not afraid.
Committed.
We shall all be free.
One family. A loving family.
We are not alone.
Join the struggle.
The last one, we shall overcome again. We shall overcome.
Believe it. Believe it.
We want you to sing along with some of these old civil rights songs with us. And after the kids are down, we're gonna sing 3 songs, and the last one is gonna be one that we want you all to sing as we walk out of the auditorium. You know that you catch on the words real easy. Come on, let's go. Oh, freedom.
No more hating. No more hating. No more hating over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more torture. No more torture. No more torture over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
No more Jim Crow. No more Jim Crow. No more Jim Crow over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be
Buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be
Gonna wait my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. Gonna study war no more. Ain't 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 gonna study.
Walk with the Prince of Peace down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna walk with the Prince of Peace down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. missile base.
Down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside.
I'm gonna fly down that missile base. Down by the riverside. And study war no more.
Ain't gonna study.
I ain't gonna study war no more.
Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more.
Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. We will not be controlled by fear.
Down by the riverside. What? Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. We don't want to be controlled by fear. Down by the riverside. Don't study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. 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 For we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. Black and white together, we shall not be moved. Black and white together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
On my way to heaven, we shall not be moved. I'm on my way to heaven, we shall not be moved.
Just like a tree that's standing by the water, we shall not be moved.
Every vote be counted, we shall not be
moved.
Every vote we counted,
We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
we're all on the way to heaven and we shall not be moved.
We're on our way to heaven, and we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. Telling you we shall not be moved.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water.
All right, we're getting ready to march. Everybody outside, we're getting ready to march.
We're getting ready to march.
And I'm on my way, and I won't turn back.
I'm on my way.
There's signs out there, so be sure to pick up a sign to carry on the march.